What's up, guys? Today or tonight I'm going to be filming something I've already filmed before, and that will be mold making. But I figured since I'm doing it, I might as well film it. No Xavier or Greg tonight, it's just me. I'm hoping this doesn't turn into too long of a molding process, but it is a kind of complicated mold. The last time you saw this thing, actually, it was me foaming the back of it. So you can see I've carved all of this stuff out of foam and then shaped it, and then there's like a good bit of body filler. So up until this point, let me catch you up real quick. So I've shaved it all down, shaved all the foam, filled it with thicker body filler, then the finishing putty to get rid of a lot of the pinholes. And then I have primed it 2 times, primed it, blocked it, primed it again, blocked it again. Make sure it's completely straight, because when you're making a mold, you want to make sure that your plug has to be perfect, because any little imperfection, especially if you're making a part multiple times, you have to fix that imperfection every single time. So the small amount of time it would take to fix it once, you could just do it once on your plug. As long as your mold's good, you're going to be fine. So the extra time in making the plug perfect is definitely worth it. You can see I have these weird pieces of cardboard here. These are just taped in here. And then I've finished them off with some filleting wax in between, and also down here on this edge. I'm doing that because this is actually going to need to be technically a 3-piece mold, because the shape of this back arch will actually mechanically lock this lip into the mold if I don't make these back sections removable. So I'm going to mold the front section first, and then I'm going to mold these back little flanges. Once I'm done the front mold, I'll pull these off, then I'll mold this back section and then a flange in here on both ends, and that'll make it 1, 2, 3 pieces. And that's because if you see this angle here, if there's a piece back here, this is gonna have to drop out the bottom. Basically, it's not gonna be able to pull back enough to release this little lip, because it's gonna be hitting against here. So what you'll do is you'll make your part, unbolt the back 2 pieces of the lip, of the mold, sorry, and pop it out that way. With the back pieces of the lip gone, should be fine. But so it's pretty much game plan. After I've blocked it all, I only went down to like a 320 grit. You can maybe see some of this. Nah, you can't really see them. But I went down to like a 320 grit because I found any finer than that, once you spray your PVA and you wax and stuff like that, it'll fill any small voids, and or when you polish your mold, it doesn't really make a difference. So the extra bit of work between going 320 grit to like 6, 8,000, 1,200 grit to make this thing ultra smooth, I find to be a waste of time. But so after doing that, I've obviously waxed it 3 times with this Pardal paste. This stuff is awesome, and I really like the smell of it. And then once you've waxed it on and then buffed it off 3 times, then you come over here and you do 2 coats of this PVA release film. This literally makes it like a super thin, like you can see how it's green. This was like perfectly white before, but it's like a super thin, like almost like a cellophane kind of feel. But this stuff is water soluble, so if you have a problem with anything, you can just wash it with water and it goes away. Also, if your part gets stuck in the mold, it helps. So my next step is to use this orange tooling gel coat. Fiberglass sells this in orange and black. I really like the orange because when you pull the mold off, you can actually see like any imperfections in the mold a lot easier, versus the black. Like if you see a pinhole in a black mold, it's going to be hard to catch. But plus, like the orange just looks pretty cool. And I'm digging Fiberglass new, they like rebranded everything. This is their old logo, and their old colorful stuff, which was cool, but it's like, this is much cooler. Hey. But so after doing the gel coat, I'll go over all the rest of this stuff we need to use. Okay, mixing gel coat. You need a cup, a accurate scale, as accurate as you can get. This is our paint mixing scale, so it's actually really nice. You need your gel coat and the MEKP hardener. The hardener is mixed into the gel coat at a ratio of 1.5 to 2.5%. It's about 70 degrees in here right now, so I'm going to be right in the middle, shoot for 2%. And after you're done mixing in this cup, we'll throw the lid on it, and then it just becomes a spray gun from there. So we'll see that in a second. Okay, so back in the paint shop, all I have to do is throw this. All I have to do is throw this gun lid on this guy. So that seals on that. This has a, I believe this is a 6mm nozzle in the front of it, which is really good for spraying this gel coat. And this little spring holds the cup on. And then I also need to, figure out how to balance this game. Okay. I'm gonna put a fitting in the bottom of this, and I gotta use my respirator because this stuff is not good for you. Whew. Okay. Stressing out for a second. This stuff hardens up pretty fast. Well, it gels up pretty fast, and it's hard to get out of the gun. All right, so I'm gonna go start spraying, and then we'll wait for this to tack up, and then let's go. So I've sprayed the first coat on. I'm just gonna go for 2 coats total to be about like 20 mil thick in the end. And then we'll wait for that to harden up and then add some of our fiberglass stuff. I'll go over that once we're ready for that though. So I actually added a little bit more to gel coat to the cup. I checked it once I was done that first coat. I give it like 5 minutes between coats. So I had enough time to fill this up, and it should be just around time to hit this with another blade. All right, now that that's all clean, let's talk about ways to spray or apply your gel coat. A lot of people actually get into this making molds and stuff like that and never stop using a brush. A lot of people will start using a brush, and that is the cheaper and easier way to go, but I actually had a lot of trouble when I first started with the brush, because if your gel coat's not even and it's a little thicker in some areas, just like almost everything that uses MEKP hardener where it's thicker, it actually heats up faster, and that'll actually basically warp, and it can dry in different rates, and it can start doing these weird like vein looking cracking things underneath, and then it'll give you a bunch of voids in the bottom of your mold, which you then have to go like fix, or if they warp too much, you might have to just scrap that whole mold and redo the whole thing again. So I love this gun. I've actually bought 2 of them because I lost one for like 5 minutes and then freaked out and bought another one. But you can get them both at Fiberglass. And another big shout out to them, because without them, I mean, a lot of the stuff that they just recently sent us, they just hooked me up with all this stuff. So big shout out to you guys. I love everybody over there. If you have any questions, call in there and ask for Michelle. She knows what she's doing. She'll walk you through every small little bit of the process, and if you have any questions, they'll knock it right out. But so I've got about 45 minutes probably at this temperature, maybe an hour, because it is cooling down, before this tacks up enough for me to start laying some reinforcements on there. But I'll go over them real quick just because I got the time. We're going to be starting with this right here. This is a 2 ounce fiberglass fabric. You can see it's like just kind of like a 1x1 like weave. This stuff is super thin, and what it'll do is it'll let you let your first layer of reinforcement actually like really stick to the mold surface, well, the gel coat itself. Otherwise, you'll have like little air bubbles in between. And then on the other side of your mold, if you start pressing or you use it a bunch of times, you can pop through, because this stuff is not going to be that thick. It's pretty durable, but you can always have small voids, air bubbles in the back of it that are not helping it. It's not reinforcing like the entire point of adding all of this stuff is. So this stuff gets super close to it. Then I'm going to run a layer of this continuous strand mat. This is that weird looking, almost looks like hay stuff. This is a little heavier than I probably need, honestly. But what I'm gonna do is run a layer of that. Then I'm gonna switch over to this fabric, which is a 6 ounce fabric. So this is a lot heavier than this 2 ounce. And then do another layer of that, and back and forth until I'm happy with the thickness of my mold. A lot of these small grooves are going to be really important to get with that first layer, but we'll be able to get them. This ain't our first rodeo. My Joby's dying though. But so I'll check in in about like 45 minutes, and we'll see where we're at. We want it just tacky. All right, it has been about an hour. You can see it's perfectly tacky. Just leaves a fingerprint, but I got no residue on my finger. So you know it's good to go. So I'm gonna start with, start with the thinner guy. I'm gonna start laying it up, and then I'm just gonna jump right into resin because it's kind of time sensitive. As soon as you get it to the point where it's just tacky enough, you wanna get your first layer on there right away. So I'm just gonna jump to time lapse. All right, you guys, that's all 4 layers. It's been a long night. I started this at 6 p.m. and it is 11:30. So I'm gonna go home and then sometime tomorrow, maybe like after work at around 6 again, I'll trim this and pop it out of the mold. So see you then. All right, guys, it's the next day. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a perimeter around the outside of this thing, and then trim the back too, like this stuff that's hanging off. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and pop it off. All right, here's a first look at the mold. I've sprayed the outside black, and then I've washed away all of the old PVA stuff, which gives it kind of like a green tint, but it also now shows the actual gloss of the part. But all in all, super happy. All of like the really intricate parts I was worried about came out perfect. Even the crease line where the part ends showed up pretty well, so I'll be able to trim them all perfectly. So the next step is going to be making the first set of these out of carbon, and I'm going to ship them to my my manufacturer that builds all of my fiberglass pieces. So all of the people that have been hitting me up about wanting a nice S30 kit, I'm going to be selling them in like fronts and rears sections, since the front air dam meets up with the front flare. So I'm not going to sell the flares and front air dam separately, because they like basically run into each other. If you had just the flares, it would just flat stop and it wouldn't look good. So that's it. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody that ordered parts from me through industrygarage.com. This will be eventually posted on there, but in the meantime, hit me up if you want a set. I'm going to start pre-ordering them. But huge shout out to all the people that already ordered from me in the past like 2 weeks. I had a couple of people ordered carbon fiber doors, got injectors, KW coilovers, a Craftwork supercharger kit, like a bunch of cool orders. So I make like a little bit, like maybe like $30 to $40 on some of those bigger items, but I really just try to get you guys the best pricing I possibly can. So a lot of time it's like below market anywhere else. So if you're looking for any parts and you want to support the channel, go into industrygarage.com, hit the brands tab if you don't see the part already listed on my website, and then just fill in all the stuff from there. But super happy with this mold, and next episode, carbon.